Hey guys, Tommy with Studio Sense. Thanks so much for stopping by and checking out today's video. Today I'm taking a look at 7 fragrances that fit a particular category of fragrances that people really seem to like. Soapy or sudsy fragrances. Fragrances that smell at their very core like luxury soap. So if you like anything about that category, this list is for you. That and more, so stay tuned. What we're talking about today is a category of fragrances that are like soapy, sudsy, fresh, and clean. Fragrances that smell like or are reminiscent of your favorite kind of soap. Whether it's a shower gel that you really dig, really enjoy, whether it's an actual dial soap, ivory soap, reminiscent of that in the dry down in particular. The very first scent we're going to take a look at is CK Free came out in 2009. Rodrigo Flores Rowe and Ellen Molnar, the 2 fragrance designers or perfumers that created this. It features absinthe, jackfruit, star anise, and juniper berry, coffee, tobacco, and suede, oak, ironwood, patchouli, and cedar. Kind of an amalgamation or a composite. So it takes several different components that create that clean or that soapy or that sudsy smell. There's a combination of florals and spices in a lot of fragrances and in a lot of soaps, and that's why CK Free is a very fresh fragrance with some hints at some masculine, darker base notes. Buchu is a note you don't see a ton of in fragrances. It's in CK Free, along with some interesting like textile notes like suede. You've also got a nice tobacco in here, some manly, darker, richer scents, some oak, some ironwood, and cedar, but it ends up smelling like a really fresh, clean, brisk soap, especially in the dry down. That's what I really like about CK Free, although you want to generously apply these sprays again because it's not super performing. Our next fragrance in these 7 soapy, sudsy fragrances, and this particular fragrance is in the blue genre of fragrances, but it also happens to be a really nice blue, soapy, sudsy fragrance from the house of Salvatore Ferragamo. SUBTIL Pour Homme Fresh. I'm just going to call it fresh. Now this is the 50 ml bottle. I really like this presentation. All of these in the SUBTIL Pour Homme line, and there are several including an oud, are in this wave or what I call the twisted bottle design, which is really nice. I really like that. Really nice presentation. Super fresh, soapy, clean smelling scent. This one came out in 2003. It features ginger, cardamom, lotus. You've got mandarin orange in the top. A nice spicy floral trifecta in the heart with coriander, violet, and rose. Resting on a base of amber, musk, and patchouli. This fragrance is such an underrated scent. A slightly shower gel, fresh, slightly aquatic, owing to the fact that it's also a blue scent in the blue genre, but it's also a very nice, clean, supremely clean, sudsy scent. Salvatore Ferragamo's SUBTIL Pour Homme Fresh. Our next soapy scent came on the scene in 2016. It as well, like CK Free, was created by Rodrigo Flores Rowe, fantastic nose perfumer, and it is from the house of John Varvatos. Artisan Blue. It's from the Artisan line of fragrances. So all of these bottles have like actual wicker material or cloth material that's woven like this, which is kind of a nod to the artisan or artisanal background. This particular scent does not seem like it would be a soapy, sudsy, fresh, clean. But I'm here to tell you, this is probably the most intense sudsy or soapy in that dry down. You've got a marketing shopper's bizarre list of fragrant notes in this that are also spicy and fresh as well. Basil, bergamot, bitter orange, chayote, French lavender, Florentine iris, French clary sage, orange blossom absolute, palmarosa, and Egyptian geranium, patchouli, stone pine, pistachio tree resin, tamarisk, and cedarwood. Now, as a spicy, aromatic, herbaceous, slightly medicinal, lightly vegetal, green, blue fragrance that this is, it really has components and characteristics of a lot of different fragrances, but in that dry down, this has to be one of the most sudsy, fresh, soapy, clean fragrances of 2016. For a fragrance that carries spicy, floral, vegetal, mineralic, at its heart, Artisan Blue is a fantastic fragrance, and that's why I recommend it. Our next fragrance had to grow on me a little bit because when I first smelled it, I wasn't really sure where it belonged. And then it just hit me. As some other fragrances were coming to me for this list, this one hit me as a fantastic candidate. Jill Sanders' Sun Men. Beatrice Bequet and Elena Story are the two fragrance noses that were behind the creation of this fragrance. It's been around since 2002. This fragrance is stupid fresh. This also has a similar unisex vibe to it as does CK Free, so whether you're male or female, there's a super clean feeling embodied in this fragrance. You've got bergamot, cologne, rosemary in the top, frangipani, cardamom, musk, and nutmeg in the heart, resting on a base of amber and cedar wood. So you've got some really nice spices there. You've got a little bit of creamy toffee in that frangipani. You've got nutmeg that gives it some deeper, darker richness aesthetic. Cologne, rosemary, and musk give it its spicy floral weight to it. Adding its own brand of brightness in that open is that bergamot as well. Underrated gem in my book, and when you spray it on and you wear it for a little while, you catch whiffs of it here and there in your own scent trail, and it's one of the most refreshing, soapy, clean sensations. You can score a 100ml bottle for less than 25 bucks, but also you don't really smell this anywhere. It's got a nice creamsicle, fresh, soapy clean to it that not a lot of fragrances have, and that's why I really like Jill Sanders' Sun. Still staying in the 2000s, but moving up a few years, 2006 saw the release of another Calvin Klein fragrance. Euphoria Men. You've got Jean-Marc Chalain, Carlos Benayem, and Luc Dong who created this. Now this particular fragrance is one of those that you have to wear a couple of times before you really sense its presence. If you wear something super strong beside this, you're not really going to catch a lot, and you're going to say, this is a super subtle, weak fragrance. I don't like that. It is not a weak-willed fragrance. It actually has a really nice spine to it, but you got to give it a chance. Just like what I was talking about with Ferragamo yesterday, you can't just one and done fragrances sometimes, especially when it comes to the soapy, clean, fresh fragrances. Sometimes that soapy clean is a subtle scent, while massive amounts of people are going to really enjoy how refreshing and nice this is. It's not going to reach out with a long arm of a dark scent profile and grab somebody's attention. You've got ginger, you've got pepper, you've got sadaki, and there's also a rain accord. Rain accord is a mix of ozonic and aquatic together. You've got sage, you've got black basil, and cedar leaf in the heart, resting on a base of amber, redwood, patchouli, and suede. For a scent that's very subtle, it's got a really good atomizer on it as well. Sometimes the most subtle notes are the cleanest, and while its predecessor, Euphoria Men Intense, is a stronger, more virile fragrance, this is an excellent, luxuriously clean smelling fragrance. This has a spicy, lightly aquatic freshness to it that's rather unique for Calvin Klein, and that's why I highly recommend Euphoria Men. Next up is also a Calvin Klein fragrance. It is a limited edition 2019, or some call collector's edition, and it is CK1. This one is the quilt edition. Not that I'm a fan of quilts or anything like this, I just happened to run into this at a really good deal. As a blind buy, CK fragrances are pretty safe because they are made to be crowd pleasing. The thing that's the knock against most CK fragrances is performance, as I've mentioned before. I was super impressed with the actual DNA, the actual scent profile. How they're put together and how they're mass produced is to be made to be cheap, made to be accessible. Well, that's good news for you and I, especially if you want more in that category or that subcategory of soapy, sudsy, luxuriously clean scents to make you feel like you just stepped out of the shower. And that's exactly what CK1 limited edition is. Bergamot, grapefruit, and rhubarb, rosemary, juniper, pine needle, ambroxan, and bretellide, and birchwood. CK1 actually has some kick to it, some bite to it. Now, this is a great shower fresh fragrance, but it actually carries a rather weighty scent profile, and what adds to that, of course, what adds volume and lift to the DNA of this is the ambroxan. Soapy, sudsy, clean. This is probably my favorite scent in terms of how soapy, sudsy, rich, and luxurious it smells on that dry down. The open is bright and fruity, and you've got a little bit of essence of sweet tart there with that rhubarb note specifically. Really nice bracing kick to it in that heart with that juniper berry, pine needle. There's also rosemary in there. Adds spice to that lift. This one reminds me a little bit of Urban Feel. You know that Salvatore Ferragamo Uomo line? It's got that same kind of pine sensibility to it, but fantastic, soapy, sudsy, clean, refreshing, inexpensive fragrance that I feel every man should own, especially if you want to walk around experiencing and sharing that fresh, just showered energy. Our last soapy, sudsy, luxurious scent that smells like you just stepped out of the shower is perhaps a little bit spicier than what you're used to in terms of soap. Mr. Burberry Indigo, the bottle that looks like it's got the little tie on. Now this is a 50 ml bottle. Now this was launched in 2018. Francis Kirkjohn is the nose behind the fragrance, very well known. Mr. Burberry Indigo features top notes of citrus notes, black currant, and rosemary, with heart notes of violet leaf, driftwood, and spearmint, resting on a base of amber, white oak moss, and musk. So that black currant, that rosemary, and that musk is what adds the weighty spice to this. This might seem like a fragrance that's not well suited for a soapy, sudsy, fresh out of the shower clean, but I'm here to tell you in that dry down, it might surprise you. I think it's a combination of that white oak moss, that musk, and then that addition of the spearmint. Now, if the spearmint weren't in this fragrance, it might not be as soapy fresh. And that's what really gives the soapy appeal to Mr. Burberry Indigo. It's something a little bit bold. It's not for the young, it's not for the old. It's somewhere in between. It's kind of an eclectic mix of different flavors and spices. But again, adding that spearmint in there is what really is the sword that drives home that soapy, sudsy luxury feel of Mr. Burberry Indigo. Doesn't matter which you decide that you want to use over another, any of these 7 are going to leave you feeling refreshed, clean, and like you just came from the shower. That's a really revitalizing, energizing, great sensation to carry with you, whether you just got up in the morning, whether you're just getting home from work from a long, hard day. So thanks for stopping by and checking out my video list of 7 fragrant luxury soap smells that are cheap, that are affordable. They're really right outside your back door. You can run and get them now at a discounter or a rack store for an excellent price. I appreciate you stopping by and checking out my video today. As always, thank you so much for your support here on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow. I think I carry myself quite a bit more intelligently than you do. Oh man, you don't know what you're talking about.